Can you imagine, just for a moment, that before you even took your first breath, your soul made a choice? Not a random, spur-of-the-moment decision, but a deliberate, calculated one. Your soul chose this life, this family, and these challenges with a purpose. I used to struggle with this idea. Honestly, it felt ridiculous when my own family seemed more like a battlefield than a safe haven. I'd lie awake at night wondering, why me? Why was I put into an environment that felt like it was tearing me down instead of lifting me up? If you felt that way too, trust me, I get it. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. Being born into a toxic family isn't a punishment. It's not some cruel twist of fate or karmic payback. It's a calling. It's a profound, life-altering opportunity to grow, to awaken, and to break cycles that have been running for generations. It doesn't feel like a gift when you're in the thick of it, does it? It feels heavy, isolating, even unbearable at times. I know because I've been there too. Toxic families, though, are like fire. They burn, yes, and they scar. But they also forge. They take your soul and temper it like steel. The challenges force you to strip away the illusions you might have held about life being simple or fair. They push you to confront harsh truths about pain, love, and resilience. And this is why you were chosen. Because you, whether you see it yet or not, have the strength to transform not only your life but the lives of everyone connected to you. Let's go deeper. The toxicity in your family isn't random, it's ancestral. It's a pattern of wounds, traumas, and unspoken truths that have been handed down like a heavy chain through the generations. And guess what? You're the one born to break it. That's no small role. You weren't meant to fit in. You weren't put here to quietly accept the status quo. You were meant to rise, to heal, and to rewrite the story for everyone who came before you and everyone who will come after you. Here's the thing, though, breaking the cycle means experiencing it first. You can't heal what you don't understand, and you can't escape what you haven't faced. That's why your soul chose the storm. It's not about drowning, it's about learning to swim. When you look at your family and see the chaos, the manipulation, the neglect, ask yourself this: where do I see these same patterns in myself? Because the hardest truth is that toxic families mirror us. They reflect back the wounds we carry inside. This is why it's a gift, even when it doesn't feel like one. In facing that reflection, you're given the power to transform, not just yourself, but your entire lineage. Your pain becomes the doorway to your healing. Your healing becomes the legacy you leave behind. And in that transformation, you create something truly extraordinary: freedom. Let's get real for a second. This journey is not for the faint of heart. Being born into a toxic family isn't some fairy tale of redemption. It's messy, painful, and sometimes feels downright impossible. And that's okay to admit. I won't tell you it's easy because it's not. It's one of the hardest paths a soul can choose. You're going to face moments of rejection that sting, betrayals that leave scars, and even the aching loneliness of abandonment. But here's where the magic begins. Every time you choose to respond differently, every time you meet anger with compassion, or judgment with understanding, you chip away at the cycle. I had to ask myself a hard question once: what if my family wasn't here to hurt me but to teach me? Imagine for a moment that their toxicity isn't a reflection of your worth but of their pain. What if their inability to love you the way you deserve isn't about you at all but about their struggle to love themselves? That shift in perspective? It changes everything. Suddenly, they're not your enemies, they're your teachers, revealing lessons about resilience, boundaries, and self-love. And here's a truth I didn't want to face at first: their wounds aren't yours to carry. Their pain isn't your responsibility to fix. Your job isn't to heal them, it's to heal yourself. That's the invitation in front of you, to step beyond their shadows and remember who you are. For the longest time, I thought my worth was tied to whether I could fix my family. If I just worked hard enough, loved deeply enough, maybe I could save them. But the more I tried, the more trapped I felt. And then it hit me, it's not my job to save anyone but myself. That realization was like unlocking a door I didn't know existed. The more I focused on my own growth, the more everything started to shift. Not because I forced it, but because I changed. When you begin to heal, your light naturally shines. And that light? It's contagious. It doesn't fight the darkness, it simply exists, illuminating everything around it. So let me ask you, what does shining your light look like for you? Is it setting boundaries that protect your peace? Is it choosing to love yourself when no one else does? Is it daring to find joy in the midst of chaos? These questions are your compass. They're what will guide you through the storm. And here's the most beautiful truth. The moment you stop fighting your family's darkness and start embracing your own light, everything changes. It's not about resisting the path you're on, it's about stepping fully into it. You were placed in this family to crumble under its weight. You were placed here to rise, to heal, to awaken. And when you do, you create a ripple effect that transforms not just your life, but the lives of everyone who follows. That's the gift. That's the power of being the chosen one. Let's pause and dig into this together. Something truly remarkable happens when a soul is placed in the middle of pain, dysfunction, and chaos. The wounds caused by a toxic family aren't just injuries, they're openings. Openings for light, for healing, for transformation. It sounds strange, I know. But here's the catch. Before you can uncover the gift hidden in those wounds, you have to face them. Not run, not fight, not push them away. You have to stand still and really feel them. What wounds are you carrying? Maybe you were constantly criticized, and now there's a voice in your head telling you you're not enough. Maybe you were ignored, and it planted the belief that your words don't matter. Or maybe you were controlled so tightly that you lost trust in yourself, always second-guessing. For me, it was love that felt conditional, like I had to earn it. That kind of love teaches you to chase approval, to perform, to forget what unconditional love even feels like. Those wounds, they hurt. They stay. But they also hold a spark for something greater. They hold the potential to wake you up. Let me ask you, when you think about your family, what emotions bubble to the surface? Is it anger? Maybe sadness or frustration? Now ask yourself, what are those feelings trying to show you? Toxic families aren't just places of hurt, they're mirrors. They reflect the lessons your soul needs to learn. They show you the patterns that need breaking. And here's the hard truth, healing doesn't come from changing them. It comes from changing yourself. Because their toxicity, it's theirs. Their wounds, their fears, their limits. You may have taken that pain on as your own, but it doesn't belong to you. This is where the Rael work begins. Separating their story from your story. Reclaiming the parts of yourself that got buried under years of dysfunction. Relearning how to trust yourself, value yourself, love yourself. But it's not easy. How do you heal wounds that feel so deep they're in your DNA? How do you break free from patterns passed down like an old, heavy family heirloom? It starts with awareness. Awareness that their treatment of you doesn't define your worth. Awareness that their chaos isn't your fate. Awareness that you were born to stop the cycle, not repeat it. But awareness is just the start. Healing takes action. It's messy, and it's not linear. Some days you'll feel like you've moved mountains, and other days you'll feel stuck in the same place. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep going. Step by step, boundary by boundary, choice by choice, you begin to rewrite your story. You begin to remember who you are, not their version of you, but the real you. And as you do, something incredible happens. The cycle starts to break. the chains of generations start to loosen. And you step into the life you were meant to live, not bound by the past, but free to create your future. This is a powerful truth. When we grow up in a toxic family, we often believe the healing and closure we need can only come from others, parents, siblings, anyone in our family. But here's the hardest lesson I had to learn: your healing doesn't depend on them. It doesn't depend on their apologies, their love, or their acknowledgement. It depends on you. I used to wait, hoping for the moment when someone would come to me and say, "I'm sorry. I know I hurt you." I waited, and I waited, hoping to feel seen, to feel loved, to feel like the wounds in my soul were valid. But the reality was stark: that moment never came. And in those moments, the question I had to ask myself was, how long am I going to let my healing depend on their actions? The answer was a painful but liberating one. I couldn't wait anymore. I had to choose to heal myself. I had to take responsibility for my own healing. And that was the turning point. It wasn't easy, but when I let go of the need for validation or change from my family, I began to free myself. It wasn't about excusing their behavior or pretending it didn't hurt. It was about choosing to let go of the grip their actions had on me. It was about deciding that I was worthy of peace, no matter how they had treated me. And in doing so, I realized that forgiveness, true forgiveness, isn't about them at all. It's about me. It's about choosing to not let their pain and toxicity define who I am anymore. Forgiveness, in this way, doesn't mean I forget what happened. It doesn't mean I'm saying it was okay. It just means I'm deciding to no longer carry their pain as my own. It means I stop letting their actions control my emotional state, my well-being, and my future. It's a messy process. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's full of setbacks and moments of doubt. There will be times when the weight of the past feels too heavy. There will be moments when you question if you're strong enough to break free from the cycle. But here's the thing: you are strong enough. You were chosen for this path not because it would be easy, but because you have the power to overcome it. You have the power to heal. And the truth is, the things you think of as your weaknesses, your wounds, your scars, the pain you've carried for so long, are actually where your strength lies. The rejection you faced taught you to love yourself. The neglect showed you how to stand on your own 2 feet. The pain taught you empathy and compassion for others who are suffering. This is the power of transformation. You take the darkness, and you turn it into light. You take the suffering, and you transform it into purpose. And here's something even more beautiful: when you heal your entire lineage. The wounds that have been passed down through generations can stop with you. When you break the cycles of dysfunction, you show those who come after you that it's possible to be free. You give others the permission to step into their own power. Your healing doesn't just affect you, it ripples out to everyone around you. This is why being born into a toxic family isn't a punishment. It's a calling. It's an opportunity for you to wake up, to rise, and to break the chains that have held your family back for generations. When you heal, you create a new path. You don't just free yourself, you free your future. So let me ask you, if you could see your family's toxicity as the very force shaping your transformation, how would it change the way you approach it? What if you knew, deep down, that every painful experience was an invitation for growth, every wound a key to unlocking your strength? The truth is, you are not here to be weighed down by their dysfunction, you are here to rise above it. You are not a victim of their pain, you are a catalyst for something greater. This isn't about carrying their burdens. It's about breaking their chains. Once you see this clearly, the path forward starts to reveal itself. Understanding that your toxic family is a gift doesn't make the road easy. Knowing you're a chosen one doesn't erase the work ahead. The real transformation begins when you choose to take responsibility, not for their actions, but for your healing. It starts the moment you decide to break free emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, not just physically. But what does freedom really mean? True freedom isn't about walking away and cutting ties. That's surface level. Real freedom happens when their words no longer trigger you, when their judgments no longer define you, and when their toxicity no longer limits your choices. It's about reclaiming your power, aligning with your truth, and living fully as who you are. That's the path of liberation. Breaking free isn't about running. You could put 1,000 miles between you and your family and still carry their wounds, because the chains that bind you aren't on the outside, they're within. They're the patterns you repeat, the beliefs you've internalized, and the stories you tell yourself about your worth. That's why the first step is awareness. You have to see what's keeping you stuck. Take a moment to reflect. What patterns from your family are you unconsciously replaying in your own life? What beliefs about yourself were shaped by their words or actions? What stories have you adopted because of how they treated you? Maybe you grew up in a household where love came with conditions. Achieve this, behave like that, and you'll be worthy of care. Now, you might find yourself chasing perfection, seeking validation, tying your worth to what you accomplish. Or perhaps your voice was ignored, your feelings dismissed, your thoughts invalidated. Today, do you notice yourself hesitating to speak your truth? Doubting your intuition? Shrinking when you should stand tall? These patterns are not your fault, but they are your responsibility to break. Awareness is the first step, but the next steps, healing, rewriting your story, reclaiming your power, are where the real transformation happens. You can start small. Begin by questioning those beliefs. Ask yourself, is this truly who I am, or is this who I was told I had to be? Start rewriting the story in your mind. Give yourself permission to let go of their expectations and embrace your own. And as you do this, you'll notice something extraordinary. The grip of your family's toxicity begins to loosen. Their dysfunction stops dictating your life. You start to feel lighter, freer, stronger. This is the work. This is how you rise. Because you are not here to carry their pain, you are here to transcend it. These patterns, beliefs, and stories that we've carried from our families are the chains that keep us anchored to their toxicity. They're not just things we think about, they are the invisible forces shaping how we live, love, and see ourselves. But here's the thing, you can't break free from something you haven't even identified. That's why awareness is the first step. You have to see what's holding you before you can let it go. But awareness alone isn't enough. Once you know what's keeping you stuck, the real work begins, healing. And healing, let me tell you, is not what you think. It's not about fixing yourself or somehow becoming perfect. It's about remembering who you were before all the wounds. It's like peeling back all those layers of conditioning, stories, and other people's expectations, and reconnecting with the real, true you. But here's the kicker, healing is never a straight line. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's full of ups and downs. And if I'm being honest, it's a process of unlearning all the things you thought you knew about yourself and then building a new foundation. It's hard work. It requires self-love, self-compassion, and self-discipline. Let's start with self-love. It's the bedrock of your healing. It's choosing yourself, even when others don't. It's honoring your needs, your boundaries, and knowing your worth, whether or not your family saw it. It's telling yourself that you are enough as you are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. But I get it, self-love isn't easy. Especially when you've been conditioned to think you're not worthy. That's where self-compassion comes in. Compassion is the soft, gentle voice that reminds you it's okay to hurt, to feel anger, to not have it all figured out. It's the reminder that healing is a messy journey, not some destination to be reached. It's okay to not have all the answers right now. And then there's self-discipline, because let's be honest, healing requires effort. You can't heal if you only show up when it's easy. It's about showing up for yourself every single day, even when the pain feels overwhelming, even when you feel like you're getting nowhere. It's about choosing to do what's best for you, even when the old toxic patterns try to pull you back in. So, here's a question for you. What if you lived each day believing that you deserve love, respect, and happiness? What if you made choices from that place? What boundaries would you set? What relationships would you walk away from? Because, ultimately, breaking free isn't about changing your family. It's about changing you. It's about stepping out of the box they put you in and into the truth of who you really are. But here's where it gets even deeper. Breaking free doesn't mean abandoning your family. It's not about cutting them off or pretending they don't exist. It's not about refusing to speak to them unless that's absolutely necessary for your peace. Breaking free is about detaching from their energy, their expectations, and their toxic narratives. It's about loving them from a place of wholeness, not obligation. It's about seeing them for who they truly are, imperfect, wounded, human beings, and choosing to rise above their pain instead of getting lost in it. And here's the most beautiful part. As you heal, you become a mirror. You reflect to your family what is possible. You show them that transformation is real, that freedom is possible, and that love is possible. You might never hear them say it, but your healing will inspire them. Your light will awaken something in them, even if they don't know how to express it. So, let me ask you this. What if your greatest act of love for your family isn't fixing them, but becoming the fullest, free version of yourself? What if your healing is the very thing that plants the seed of change in them, even if it takes years or lifetimes for that seed to bloom? This path we walk, it's the path of the chosen ones. It's not easy. It's not glamorous. But it's a path filled with purpose, transformation, and liberation. It's the kind of path that challenges you at every turn, and yet, if you keep going, you'll find that every challenge is a chance to rise, to grow, to become more than you ever thought possible. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with something important. Your family's toxicity is not your fate. It's your training ground. It's the fire that shapes you, the soil in which your soul can grow. You were not brought into this environment by accident. You were born into it because you were strong enough to overcome it. You were wise enough to learn from it. You were brave enough to heal from it. Each time you rise above their dysfunction, each time you choose healing over bitterness, each time you decide to love yourself despite their inability to show you love, you're fulfilling your role as a chosen one. You're walking in your power, and you're transforming not just yourself, but the world around you. Think about it. Your family's toxicity is not about you. It's about them. It's about their wounds, their fears, their limitations. It's about the patterns they never healed, the stories they never rewrote. But it's also about you, because you have the strength to break those patterns. You have the courage to heal the wounds they left behind. And when you do, you become part of a larger, collective healing. You are not alone in this. There are millions of chosen ones, just like you. People who are breaking cycles, healing deep wounds, and rewriting their own destinies. Together, we are creating a new world, a world where love, compassion, and truth are the foundation. And the beauty of it is, your healing is part of that creation. Every step you take towards freedom, every act of self-love, every moment of courage you show, it all ripples out into the universe. It affects more than just you. It affects everyone. So, here's the question for you. If you fully embraced your role as a chosen one, if you truly stepped into your power, what kind of life would you create? What kind of world would you build? Would you keep repeating the old cycles, or would you break free from them? Would you let fear or anger dictate your actions, or would you choose love, peace, and purpose instead? The choice is yours. You are the one who holds the key to your transformation. Your family's toxicity, their dysfunction, it doesn't define you. You do. You are the author of your story. you are the creator of your future. And as you step into your power, you become a beacon for others to do the same. This path, though hard, is one of the most powerful journeys you could ever take. It is a path of liberation, of healing, and ultimately, of love. And you were born for this. Never forget that.